I just wanted to say a few words about a headline on the front page of The Australian this morning that Rupert Murdoch is saying that equality is at risk. Sometimes you see a headline that's so breathtakingly hypocritical that you actually have to talk about the substance that underlines it. Because there's been a substantial debate globally for the past 3 years about growing inequality, and of course in the United States for the past 30 years. You've seen an incredible concentration of wealth at the top, stagnant wages for most average workers, and a hollowing out of the middle class in that country. In this country, when we talk about growing inequality and concentration of wealth, people like myself have been branded by Rupert Murdoch as class warriors for daring to speak up for the fair go, for making sure that people on average wages get affordable health and education and have access to a decent industrial relations system that gives them a decent minimum wage and collective bargaining rights. The fact is that there is a debate about inequality in the global economy. It's got very intense in the past 3 years. It's been led by people such as Joseph Stiglitz, Christine Lagarde from the IMF, people like Martin Wolf from the Financial Times, who've all been pointing out that the increasing concentration of wealth globally is casting a dark shadow over global growth. And one of the reasons that global growth is so slow and anaemic is that the wealthy are getting wealthier and the people who work are getting poorer. So for Mr Murdoch, in this article, to come forth and say the solution is to cut taxes for the super rich is more than I think this country can tolerate or should tolerate, as we are fed a diet of these policy responses from the puppets in the Abbott government who represent Mr Murdoch's interests. Yesterday in the Parliament, the Treasurer, Mr Hockey, repeated almost word for word some of the content of the speech that Mr Murdoch gave to the G20, talking about and blaming quantitative easing for an increase in the concentration of wealth at the top, when in fact quantitative easing has been the only policy in place globally to keep people in jobs. And if there hadn't been any quantitative easing, we would have seen a profound global recession. So what we're really seeing here from the government, in terms of its advocacy for increased indirect taxes, and from Mr Murdoch, and what we saw in the budget and the Audit Commission report, are all of the Murdoch prescriptions for Australia: lower wages, lower taxes and greater inequality.